to own it. Just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here. Oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Thank you for coming on the show today, Ramona.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, so tell us your story. It's really unique because you work in law and you've been doing this for a very long time. How'd you get started?
A very long time. When I was 14, my dad actually used to drag me to his office and make me work during the summer. And at first I dreaded it, but then I started dealing with low-income families. He was a public defender and also did family law, and he had about 72 attorneys under him. And
I bet he has some great stories. Wow.
Amazing stories. And he's so fun to listen to. Yeah. So I grew up like that, just watching my dad, idolizing him. And then he would feed the homeless community. He would have like these luncheons and stuff, and just was really passionate about helping people. And I think just growing up like that, it's always something I wanted to do. I went for business administration in college, and then just came back to law. Got my paralegal degree in 2011. And I've been working as a certified paralegal ever since. I worked for big firms like Lang, Rickard & Patch, things like that. And then I worked for Wright & Wright, and then my boss wanted to do his own thing. So I helped him formulate his law corporation, and we found an office like on a quick, emergency articles, formulated his law corp, and we just kind of took about 96% of our clients with us. And ever since then, the law office has been my baby, and that was 2014. And then answering the phones and managing the whole office and being a paralegal and just doing everything, I learned how many people don't have the funds for legal fees. So I was like, man, there's got to be a way to help them. So I spent my Christmas Eve alone because my family moved to Oregon. My dad retired and moved to Oregon. So it was Christmas Eve in 2021. I was like, what am I going to do? I was like, I'm going to formulate my own business. So I did a corporation, Barker Paralegal Agency, and to help low-income families, so that couldn't afford probates,
wow.
things like that. Yeah, I do, restraining orders every once in a while, but trust administrations, business formations. There's a lot that I've formulated here in Fresno. Obviously, I can't mention them. But
how do you have time to do that when you work full-time at the law firm?
I do it on my own time. I do it after hours, or I do it on the weekends. But I always make time for it. Pretty busy.
I can only imagine. I bet you would get really blown up, especially in the Central Valley, because there are a lot of low-income families.
Yeah, definitely. So I haven't advertised much because I do focus. Like when I focus on one client, I actually focus on that client, and it's you absorb people's problems when you're dealing with them. When they don't have enough money, I deal with death law every day. So we deal with probates, estate planning, trust administration.
That could take a long time, huh?
A long time, yeah. But so what I do is get them filed quickly, the probates, put them in as administrator. Either they want to keep the house, and that's why they're wanting to not have to pay the high statutory attorney fees, or they're wanting to sell and they're wanting somebody to work on their matter like really quickly so that they can work with the agent. And I also put them in touch with agents. We have some really good ones that we work with, real estate agents. So we get the property, they help them get the property listed. I help them get their letters and get their hearing date quicker than usual, just by being diligent.
Oh, that's good. That's being like a one-stop shop, because there's nothing more frustrating than you have to get this, and you have to get that. And
yes.
So you help. That's wow.
Yes, and I deal with only agents that I trust, because obviously your clients become, friends. I mean, not so much friends, but you care about them. You're very passionate about it. You care
very
about
intimate.
them.
You know their whole story.
Yes, their whole, how like their loved one died, and what they went through, and they're grieving, and what family member's not cooperating. You just know their whole story. So it becomes, your problem too. So, yeah. Wow.
And so, what I've always wanted to know, what fascinates me is that law is always changing. How do you keep up with that?
Well, a lot of research. I'm also going back to school, pursuing law. I definitely want to be an attorney.
How do you have time for all?
It just takes discipline, and I'm passionate about it. So it's not even really like I'm working. Like when I'm working on a case, I'm working on it forever. And I'll go home sometimes at like 9 o'clock and just de-stress. And I don't know, I absolutely love it. I just feel like it's in my DNA.
Why did you put it off so long actually becoming a lawyer?
I was a mom first. I wanted to be a good mom. I was a single mom. I raised my boys in Christian lifestyle, was very strict, they'll probably tell you that. Focused on them, and now they're 20 and 21, so it was a long process, just dealing with them and being there for them, showing up to all their games. I made sure I did that with my jobs. Fridays was a day I got off early so I could make all their games. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. No, so my best friend from college, we were college roommates. She did the same thing. She actually got her law degree and everything, did it for a little bit, then got married, had kids, and she's like, there's no way. It's so tight. It's 100 hours a week. So she completely just took those years off, those formative years off. And
yes, and it takes a lot out of you. Like, I've had boyfriends or whatever, and they're like, hey, let's go to the lake like on Saturday, and I'm working Saturday morning, a little bit late, show up late. Like, it's just what it is. I mean, you just prioritize, and I mean, if you have personal life, they have to be very understanding.
And it's time consuming, and that time is of the essence as well, because a lot of times these things have to get filed.
Absolutely.
We've been talking about, now you're helping me with some stuff. There's a holiday weekend coming up. And so these things are all very time sensitive.
They are, and I'm just passionate about it. And people in your life, if they really care about you, they're going to understand that comes first. And there's a reason. I mean, obviously some are more tedious than others, and just very personal situations, and they become personal to me too. So I make sure that comes first, and then everything else will always be there.
And then I've always heard a lot of times in these law firms that the paralegal does do all the work.
Everything. Yeah. My boss is actually very creative in his business. He's creative at drafting. That's his baby. He loves drafting trusts. He's great at customized estate planning. And that's one of the reasons that he left where he was at previously, because he wanted to implement new times change, law changes. You tell a story in these documents. They're customized. They're not just, form templates. Like the reason that we leave things a certain way, we explain that in the document so that family members are not like, oh, why did this one get more? Or, why did this one get like the baseball and not me? So, I mean, you tell a story and it's someone's legacy, so.
And I bet people are really on you guys, because a lot of times people don't understand it's going to take a long time. And they're like, where's my money? Where's the money? You're like, oh, you might not get that for a couple of years, huh?
Oh, that? Well, luckily for us, we don't do civil litigations, so those take a long time. Yes.
Oh, so with the house, I thought it was like with properties.
Probate. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, with the estate. So sometimes, right, or people.
Yeah. So when someone passes and they have an estate plan in place, if everybody is on board, which 7 out of 10 they are, family members, because of the way we explain our documents, the way we'll meet with all the family members in a conference room in a meeting with all the beneficiaries, they're usually on board. So if they sign a waiver of contest, the 120 days in a trust administration, we can administer everything right then and there.
Okay.
It's probate that takes the longest.
Oh,
but,
okay.
I mean, if everything is good and, like I file right away, and we get the inventory and appraisal in, and there's no creditor claims, or we, respond when there is, we can close down within 8 months in a probate. I always try to make sure that we're able to close, as soon as possible, because the beneficiaries want to get paid in the estate, and I want to close it down too. Like, on to the next. Bye, guys. So.
What's one of the craziest things you've learned in this job or experience you've had?
The saddest thing that I've learned that's actually crazy is money changes people in these situations. And even though, especially in probates, because the family didn't tell a story and everybody's fighting to be in charge, and you're like, you have to pick, the most reasonable person that you're going to deal with, that's going to, take care of everybody in those situations. But in trust administrations, we get to blame it on the people that left the document behind, because the loved one, it was their wishes, not ours. It wasn't your wishes. So it's seeing people be so greedy. I've had, and I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but I've had people call, oh, my mom passed away today. What am I receiving? And it's like...
It's the first thing that went through their mind. Wow.
Man, I really liked her mom. That's sad, but... yeah, just people, I guess, grieve differently. But that's the most disappointing thing. And I don't want to detour anybody from calling us like the day of, but money changes people. And so.
What's one of the biggest impacts you've done with your business? It's called Barker and...
Barker Paralegal Agency.
Barker Paralegal.
Yeah. So. I think just people that they were facing a foreclosure. Their parents' house, they were living there. They're very low income, for one reason or another. Not necessarily don't have it together, but either they're disabled or something's going on with them where they don't have money either, and they don't want to lose their parents' home because their parents' intent was to leave it to them, but they just didn't know how to plan. is watching them and saving foreclosures. And you can do an ex parte petition to shorten time on the hearing and things like that, and just watching them be able to bypass that foreclosure and successfully administer the estate, I think, and them saving the home. A lot of those are like that, or they just want to sell the home and they're trying to bypass foreclosure so they get something out of it. The state just doesn't get it. I think just working diligently on making sure that doesn't happen, the foreclosure, has been the most challenging thing that I face, and it's like I'm ready for it.
So it's got to be very rewarding when you save somebody's house.
It's so rewarding, and I don't know why it is, but it really is. Because they're happy, and it's like it's stuff they thought was not going to happen, and they had lost all hope. And I think the most challenging case that I've recently been working on is surrounding a mother-in-law that was really, really mean to her 5-year-old grandson and locked him out of his own house, wouldn't give him his teddy bear back when he had lost his dad. And we fought it's an out-of-town case. We fought with the police department to get his belongings, at least until we can put, his mom in charge of the estate and get the mom-in-law out of it. So we successfully worked on, we found an investor, and we're saving that house sale to where the little boy can have some sort of inheritance, because he lost his dad. So.
Wow. And how often do you even take on other states like that?
Well, not states, counties. Yeah, we have to work within California. Sometimes, I do out of state deeds and stuff like that, but that's with another attorney in that state blessing it and saying it's okay, so then we can, have them notarize it and everything. But out of county, all the time. The one county I don't like working with, I don't know why they make everything so hard on us, is Bakersfield, Kern County. I don't know why, and that's a huge shout out to them. They're horrible. I don't know if somebody sits behind the counter and wants to reject every document, but they do. But no, we work on out of county cases all the time. Yeah.
And what were some big changes you've seen in law? I mean, I know that this whole squatter situation has really become a big wave, and it wasn't even a word or a thing 20 years, you know what I mean? So when you saw that and then they're getting laws of, how do you navigate that? Because I know that happens a lot in the kind of law you're doing.
It does, and it's terrible. And sometimes you have that that deputy or that officer that's just not afraid of anything. And now obviously, you can only do things that are within the law when you're in law enforcement. They're doing their job. They're doing it the best they can. But, they'll be able to just bark at them and they'll leave. But squatters have rights. And once they establish residency, it could be as much as a toothbrush, in the house, or staying there a couple days. They have to be lawfully evicted, which is insane to me, but,
Do you ever help the squatters, or is that not something you do?
I mean, I'll give them lunch. Will I help them legally? No, because we deal with property law, so you're dealing with a lot of property owners and stuff.
So often, but that's happening where you see people, the properties are trying to turn over whatever they have that, and they probably didn't know a lot of times.
Yeah, especially when we're doing these short sales and stuff, and we're doing the law side of it. We deal with that a lot. They're like, well, there's a squatter. Okay, we have to get that person out.
Yeah.
So sometimes we can do it without the eviction. Sometimes you offer cash for keys. And
wow.
Yeah. So it's it happens.
And when did that become a thing? Because like I said, I didn't even know about 20 years ago. How do you get to where you learn, okay, this is a thing now, this is the law now? Because it just changes so much.
Well, my first funny case, we had, this was 2014 that I first dealt with my, my first squatter. So it's been going on a while. We had a client donate to one of the animal rescue foundations a property that they were going to build a rescue on. And I don't know necessarily if they were going to do that or just use it as something for the rescue. But there was a squatter and a trailer on it. It took me, I had to do an unlawful detainer, believe it or not, to finally get that person out, because she had been squatting for almost a year. Just had her trailer on that property. It was vacant, but it belonged to somebody and they're like, here, we did this gift deed not knowing there was a person on there in a trailer. Goodness. And they're like, hey, when they went to go start their process to, tear down the lot and, build, they're like, yeah, there's a person living on there. So I was like, hey, would you leave? We tried everything. And then eventually they stayed until the lockout with the sheriff, the very last day of the lawful detainer. And we're like, get out, good riddance. So they put up a gate, and that took months to get that person out. And
that delayed all the processes that you guys were going through to get.
Well, we did the deed transfer. It was a gift, so I mean, that's just a silly circumstance, but that's where I really learned that it's a real thing. You have to evict them lawfully. Like, you can't just pull them off the property. Like, and law enforcement can't. Their hands are tied. It's a civil issue, which I'm sure they love to say, but it's true, you know. It's a thing.
And do you ever worry about your safety, because you help so many people and you help people in like weird situations?
Yes, and I've had some funny situations with actually personally serving a restraining order that we successfully got. I made I made the mistake to involve myself and serve, and it came with consequences. But it was not consequences to where the person physically attacked me, but verbally on social media attacked me afterwards.
Why did you decide to personally serve?
Who knows? Back then, less than
You're being
2016,
nice.
I was a baby in my industry. I don't know. I was just being nice, I think, because, you know, I got really personal with the case and involved, and it was somebody that I knew, and
Oh, that makes sense.
I made that decision. It was somebody I cared about, so yeah, that was a mistake. Won't do that again.
I bet you help out a lot of friends. How does that work?
I do. I love doing that, yeah. I just think that each situation's different. I mean, I don't, you know, you hear someone's story and you're like, oh yeah, you know, I can help with that, and you want to help. I don't know, because I'm so passionate about it, and it's easy to do. A lot of people, like, because, you know, you're going to shop around trying to find the right person to help you, and then whether or not they're experienced in that area and whether or not they're going to overcharge you, because you never really know if you're getting, you know, getting charged, you know, the right amount or whatever.
Do you help people with that? They call you and be like, I already have this lawyer, I can't really go to you, or I already have this person, they're charging me this. You're like,
I can't help somebody if they're represented, no.
Will you tell people if they just ask you on a price quote, if they're thinking about going with someone, if that's too much, or you don't really like to?
So usually friends, I mean, I can't really say, I mean, I don't want to say I give away a lot of stuff free, but friends, if I'm close to them or whatever, or their situation touches me because I've been there, sometimes I'll help them, you know, at a very, very discounted rate, or, you know, even free sometimes. Just, hey, let's get this over with, let's do it. I know what you're going through, I understand. But no, we price quote, like if it's, you know, whatever they're wanting done. If you want your business formulated, you want a corporation, LLC, we'll talk about it. I'll give them a price and do it. I get a lot of referrals for businesses, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, if you encounter, because I hear this all the time, everybody thinks, oh, they know everything, they know the law. What is, like, one of the biggest things that you're surprised that people go, oh, I didn't know that you're always shocking them with about the law?
I think the fact that squatters have rights, doesn't that shock you? I mean, should they? Probably. I mean, I don't know. I think what I don't like and that shocks me that I hear is there are attorneys out there that will just take on any case and not be experienced in that area of law. And I'm out. It's a disservice to somebody to take on that type of task unless you're really going to research it and you know what you're doing and you make sure, because there's so many moving parts, and a lot of people think they know estate planning or even formulating a business, and then you formulate the wrong business and you're not giving the right advice. Or I just think that attorneys should stay in their lane and not venture off in other areas if they're not certain that they know how to do it. And I see that a lot.
Wow, so that's interesting.
I see it a lot. And yeah, it's unfortunate because it does do a disservice to somebody that could have paid, you know, maybe a little bit more or even a little bit less for somebody that's experienced. Because you want, if you're going to go to court on something, you want somebody to know, you know, what they're doing, and you want to win, obviously. So.
What do you do when people don't listen to you and you take on cases and people aren't doing the homework and aren't doing the work and aren't doing the stuff that you're telling them to do? Because I know that there's a lot of work that goes into this on their end as well.
A lot of work, and sometimes I feel like I'm not to the point where I'm mean to them, but I'm very firm, and you know, you have to get this done, like, because a lot of my free time, because I give up a lot for my industry and my job because I'm passionate about it. So I'll sit there for hours upon hours and making sure that, you know, everything's done, like with their probate in like one day, they're signing, I'm e-filing with them there, I'm giving them the receipt, you know, working with the agent, having a certain time for them to meet. But if they're not going to meet me halfway, you know, or show up or, you know, whatever, or listen to me, I don't like when they're like, oh, hey, I Googled this, or oh, I appreciate them Googling, but
well, that's where I go with everyone thinks they know about the law.
Yeah, I'm like, don't challenge me. I want to just, either you trust me or you don't. And I think circling back and repeating myself I have to do that sometimes. Just circling back and saying, no, this is why, this isn't that way. And they're like, well, I Googled this, and just, you know, talking to them and yeah, if they don't don't listen, or they're like, oh, I talked to so-and-so and they said it should be done this way, and it's
Right.
not. So yeah, a lot of circling back, and either, they trust me or they don't. I think we've had one situation where the assessor's office, we knew we were doing something in a trust administration. The assessor's office told this woman something else, that the property had to be in her individual name or she wouldn't qualify for this tax exclusion. That's a parent-child transfer, which is on a deed if you inherit a property, and you can qualify for that exclusion. It's to prevent your property from being reassessed. Well, a new assessor told her, according to her, because sometimes you don't understand what someone's telling you, because law is a difficult subject sometimes. Well, she was very adamant about them saying the property had to be in her individual name and not a trust, which is a probate. That's what we want to try to avoid whenever you do estate planning, is avoid probate. So, she was adamant about it, and she was literally going to fire us if we did not put the property in her individual name. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to give you what you want because you're going to do it anyway. But I didn't say it like that. But will you promise me that you will circle back and think about putting, because you can do a transfer on death deed, which doesn't take effect right away. You put a beneficiary on your property. So I just told her, we'll leave it in your individual name, but circle back to me within this month and tell me who you want to have as a beneficiary on your property. Because the whole reason for doing estate planning is avoiding probate and, the painful year process and somebody losing their home and statutory attorney fees, and making sure your assets are protected. So she is going to circle back. This was 2 weeks ago, actually, so she has 2 weeks left. So I'm hoping,
goodness.
yeah, and an assessor's office, they're not supposed to give legal advice, that's why that was very shocking to me. And I did speak to a supervisor on that, and they said they were not supposed to give any legal advice. And I'm like, well, talk to this person. So they did, and I didn't get them in trouble. It's more education, because when somebody's telling them that something should be a certain way and they're challenging a law office, it just makes our job that much harder. And there was a real estate agent that was actually teaching. I took real estate classes. He was teaching in one of his classes, and I got up in the back of the class, that a will saves probate, and a will does not save probate. It's a common misconception.
And what did he say when you're like, no, that's not how it is?
I told him that a will does not save probate. Even a will has to be probated. It's a different type of probate. But yeah, it goes through, it's a public proceeding, and it takes a year, and yeah. He listened to me, and he's all, we need to come in for an estate plan. Like you do.
That is so interesting. Yeah. Wow, that is funny.
Yeah.
And then you do a lot of cool things in your job, where I think is way above and beyond. And sometimes you have to go, because people are on their deathbed.
That's sad.
And you're saying, and then you have to wait for a small window of time for you to go in.
Yes.
And they say, so how does that work?
Well, so a lot of times whenever we make the hospital visits, they've been our clients since 2013, 2014. So we know them, we know their wishes, but there's certain documents that need to be changed regarding health care if they're, wanting to transfer property to make sure it goes to that beneficiary or something. We'll do house calls. Those are really hard to do. But if they're new clients, we've talked to them, but there's when they're going to start hospice and they're going to be on a morphine drip, if it happens prior and, we've had our conversations with them and stuff, I don't want them to be on any type of drugs, because when I go in to talk to them and I'm going to notarize their stuff, and, we're signing power of attorneys, healthcare directives, and sometimes trusts, I want to be sure that they can tell me, that they're okay to sign. And even though, I know their wishes before they even started getting sick and they were diagnosed, we just want to make sure that their minds are right.
What do you see us making mistakes, the regular person, that we're making the biggest mistakes in? Is it not setting the proper will, not setting, what are we doing wrong?
Well, my biggest thing with my friends, especially my wealthy friends, that I know some of them have their properties in their individual names and they're walking probates. It's an attorney's dream to manage their estate, and some of them are single, and they're millionaires, and they have their properties in their individual names, assets in their individual names, not thinking anything could happen. I don't care how old you are, anything can happen. You can pass away tomorrow. You can get in a car accident. Life happens, and I think it's not having an estate plan and not having their property placed in trust and properly protected, because then you create a mess and someone has to solve that mess, and people are grieving. You want to part of what we do, we're like, do you have a burial policy? Letting them focus on the funeral, and everything else is taken care of. All they literally have to do is come in, sign a few documents, and then it's a very cheap trust administration, and the property passes to the beneficiaries when they have their estate in order.
So we can come to you and be like, we want this to be as easy as possible for our loved ones. What do we have to do? So what you just said, like just do that, and you'll be like, okay, this is exactly what you need to do.
Definitely, you just call me, and then you'll come in for a free consultation, sit down and talk, and then you leave with a data gathering packet. With homework, a homework assignment to bring certain assets back, and then a design meeting happens, and then you pretty much say who you want to be in charge of your estate, because you pick a successor trustee when you pass, and then who your beneficiaries are, who you want to leave it to, and or a general idea, and it's always changeable as long as you have capacity in your life. You can always change it, but the primary thing is making sure that property is titled to the trust, real estate, things like that, so that it's a protected asset, because at any time you can change that as long as it's protected.
But it is costly to change things too, and it does take a process. It's not always just easy to go and change your will like tomorrow.
Ours is really easy, because if you set it up with us as a client initially, we have all your information in our system, and it's a managed, within an hour your trust can be restated, documents, things like that, and come back in. We don't charge a lot for restatements.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
modifications, yeah. And all of our phone calls are free. Like when clients call in, they're clients for life. That's what I'm saying. Like we establish these relationships with clients, and it's really cool. Like I know them on a first name basis, and I'm like, they're like, oh, well, we were a client. I'm like, no, I don't recognize your name, and then they ended up, calling the wrong place. But I don't care how many clients we get. We always know them, and it's
wow, that's really impressive.
It's been yeah, the firm has been my baby. I think my boss feels the same way about his business as well. So.
Okay, so give the viewers your information. Where's the best place to reach you if we want legal advice, well, personally and with your firm? What's the best place? Do we email you? Do we call you?
Yeah, so you can call Estate Planning Law Office of Jonathan Petty. That's 374-2223. And if you're wanting to work directly with me, it's Barker Paralegal Agency, and it's 273-8727.
Perfect. No, it's a lot. I was keeping up, so hopefully everybody is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on my show today. You've been so great.
Thank you. It's been fun.
After a great interview, Ramona accompanied me to visit with the Master Chef Vatche at the Cracked Pepper Bistro, which is a real gem in Fresno, California. Upon entering, I immediately noticed and began admiring the aged meat. We found our way to the bar, of course we did, while waiting for our table to be ready. Our bartender, Tiffany, was friendly and made the best old-fashioned. Yummy. From the bar, we could easily see the kitchen and were able to witness all the magic going on over there. After a few laughs and securing our drinks, our table was ready, so we made our way over. Everything in the menu looked delicious. It was hard to narrow it down. I was excited to try the famous Napoleon, and Ramona kept mentioning the bread pudding. Tiffany was also our server, which was a pleasant surprise. I ordered the lamb chops, and Ramona went for the halibut. I was so excited to speak to the person behind the exciting dining experience.
So you're not doing the red pepper paste?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know about it.
Oh, I'm surprised I didn't bring it out.
What is the red pepper paste?
Well, it usually comes with the bread, so I'm surprised it's not here right now. So
Did
you ask for butter?
I just asked for bread. I will ask for the red pepper paste. So
Oh no, it should come with it. No, it's not. Did you say no spicy? Or?
I love spice. No, I love
no, it's not spicy at all.
We actually just talked about we love spice.
It's very tame. So it's a childhood dish I grew up with in Lebanon. It's a mahmara, but I've kind of Americanized it. So it's got roasted red peppers, walnuts, honey, aioli, and Parmesan cheese in there. So
That sounds like, let's just wait to eat the last piece for that.
can you bring the mahmara? I'm not sure why they didn't bring the red pepper paste.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is really delicious. This old fashioned. Is this your signature drink here?
Well, we have a few. We have the old fashioned, the Sazerac. We try to do all the drinks the traditional ways. We make our own simple syrup. All our juices are squeezed fresh.
You actually make this syrup yourself.
Yeah, we do not buy it.
So you've lived in so many places. Is that part of why there's so much of a fusion here? Tell us what the food is like based off of.
Well, the food is kind of my childhood growing up, right? I was born in Lebanon, moved to Syria, to Greece, to Canada. Within all that area.
Canada, we just talked about that. That's our desired destination is Canada.
Oh yeah, I lived in Vancouver, British Columbia for 6 years, and for briefly 6 months in Edmonton. So growing up in all the different places, kind of you start inheriting all these flavors.
Yeah.
And then I had a lot of like Greek friends, I had a lot of Italian friends. So a lot of, and coming from Armenian culture, we love my family.
Me too.
Yeah, my family loves to cook, so it's just natural transition. I think becoming a chef was very easy.
So do you roll the grape leaves? Do you do all that
No,
stuff?
I don't do that. I can't compete with my mom.
I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, I can't compete with that. They do a good job, so it's we'll see someday.
So when you came to America, where did you first settle?
Fresno. Well, yeah, we thought we might go to Chicago, but Chicago was too cold, and my uncles were already in Fresno, so we just came to Fresno. So my mom, my dad, and
What about California? Have you been to other places besides Fresno?
no, it was straight Fresno.
So you've been here 4 years?
41 years.
41.
I thought you spent some
Wow.
time in San Francisco-ish, a little bit.
Oh.
Well, I went to culinary school there. I didn't.
Oh, wow.
So when we moved here, we moved to Fresno.
That was amazing.
But I was only at that point high school age, so 14.
What is this amazingness right now?
So this is our eggplant Napoleon. So that became the dish that kind of put us on the map in Fresno, and that and our bread pudding.
I love
Oh,
eggplant.
your bread pudding here is so amazing.
Yeah, so it's got a combination of pesto that we make in-house with walnuts. The goat cheese has truffle oil, thyme in there, so it kind of takes away that little bit of the tanginess from the truffle oil.
Yeah.
And then we put them all together. We reduce our own balsamic. The eggplant is lightly breaded in pumpkin seeds and panko,
Oh my God,
and
it's
pan
amazing.
fried, and then built together, and then we bake it after all the components are put together. We bake it in the oven.
I've never had anything like this, and it's really crispy.
Yeah, so the eggplant stays really
It's
crispy.
perfectly crispy, like how you have the stuff in between, and it actually stays crispy. I love
It's
that.
our technique, our secret. So
Oh wait, so we saw the aged meats coming in. Tell us about that.
So we want to start our own aging program on the ribeyes, and so it's strictly ribeyes in there. So we actually have another aging cabinet coming in soon. So we typically age about 26 days, all our steaks, on our age program. We have a regular ribeye, then we have our aged ribeye, and that is house aged. So the first 10 days of the aging program, it kind of tenderizes the meat, breaks down the muscle, and the other 14, 15 days, it's actually adding flavor. So we realized once we go past 25 days, it becomes a little too gamey for some people. Like a lot of San Francisco, New York, they can go 30 days, 60 days. But I realized some customers like that. A majority of customers did not like the...
How many other places in town even do that?
I think few places serve it, but I don't think they age it themselves.
I haven't heard anything like that.
Yeah, so we've kind of... We were buying pre-aged from a vendor, and we decided we can have better control if we did our own aging process. So, like I said, we try to do everything in-house as much as we can. So we scratch cook everything. Mashed potatoes are made daily. Everything that we do, the pesto is made in-house. The balsamic we reduce. We don't buy reduced balsamic.
That pesto is so good in there.
It is so yummy.
You really
Like,
taste that.
wow.
Even our tomatoes that we use, San Marzano style tomatoes, so they're very sweet. They're not acidic. So, and then we roast the tomatoes with basil and olive oil and sea salt.
Where do you get a lot? Is this from the Central Valley? Do you use a lot of local farmers for this
We
stuff?
try to, but unfortunately, we try to stay seasonal, but a lot of times we can't because it's hard because customers coming in are requesting a certain dish at this point. So like eggplant, if we don't have it in season, we were in the beginning we were not serving it, and
Yeah.
customers like, well, if you don't have it, we're not going to come in.
yeah.
I'm
We're
like,
looking at
well, I
some-
see it.
I can see why this could be addictive.
You're right.
Oh my goodness.
So we have it on the menu, but I have a produce guy that grows a lot of our specialty stuff, and then he brings that to the back door for us. And our tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, baby carrots, all that stuff he grows and brings. But our bulk stuff we get from local vendors, like the stuff we use for stocks and soups and stuff like that. We buy that stuff, and the big carrots, the potatoes, those are harder to come by in small production.
So we're here on a weekday night. This is good.
Right.
Not every place is even open on a weekday night. How do you guys stay open every night and make everything amazing? What are your closed nights?
So we're closed Sunday, Monday,
Okay.
and we're dinner only. So during Tuesday, we open at 4:30 and we serve until 10.
Okay.
And on Friday and Saturday, we serve until 11, open at 4:30 as well. But we've been doing this for 16 years.
Wow, you weren't always here though.
We were on Sean Fresno for our first half of our life as a Cracked Pepper. So
I like this one better.
I think it's a little set back, a little further back. It's a little bit more comfortable. Over there, I think it was a good start. I was starting in my culinary career as a restaurateur. I've been a chef for a while, but the landlord was the only person there that would rent to us at that point in my life. Now they all want me to move in their shopping center, but
I love the wood here. You kept a lot of the natural wood. And explain what is on top of that. Was
The
this
plates?
Yeah.
so those are all the awards we've gotten in the past year.
No way.
Yeah, so we have some on the wall and we have some behind us on the.
You ran out of wall space.
We ran out of wall space,
Oh,
and they
my
stopped doing
goodness.
the award shows. So we, after COVID, was kind of like a weird. So they stopped doing it. We still got one. I think they just started redoing the awards again, and so we've gotten best romantic, best date night, best
fun
dessert.
here.
Yeah, I've gotten restaurateur of the year. So multiple awards for different things that we've done.
Do you think living in different places made you really do well here? Because you didn't even live here your whole life, and you're already catching on. Everybody loves it here. Why is this so popular and successful?
Well, I think being Armenian and moving to different places, I think I've become very hospitable. You get to learn to make friends really easy, right? As a kid, when you move from city to city, you have to learn how to make friends pretty quickly.
And it's not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun. No, I don't know if you've done that, but
Yeah.
no. So it taught me how to talk to people easily. I can talk from our plumber to a lawyer to a doctor. It's the same for me. I don't have different that guy does this guy does that. We all talk about food. It's the simplicity of the food, right? So if we have a common denominator, which is food, it's really easy to talk to people. You start talking about science, or you start talking about, brain surgery, I'm lost.
What did people tell you when you first moved here? What did people say? Hey, we have a need for this. You want this for us? Did people start talking about what they wanted?
No. I decided to do this. So I came here. I was not trying to open my own restaurant, to be honest with you. I was applying for jobs at different restaurants that I wanted to work
Wow.
with. Harlan's restaurant was, Roy Harlan had his restaurant at
Oh,
that
yeah.
point. Malachi's son had a restaurant at that point. So those are the chefs that I want to work with. But unfortunately, it never worked out. So I decided, okay, I'll just open my own restaurant. So it was more from necessity of I want to work, but I couldn't get a job.
So you created your own? I love that.
I created my own job.
I did that in LA too. I
Did
love
you?
that, and I was successful.
Yeah, and I think when you do something you love, you don't really have a chance to fail, right?
You're passionate.
You're passionate.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work to open this. It's not.
Well, yeah, it's not like you get a lot of restaurants fail.
This becomes your life. And
Yeah. Well, you
It's
know,
like a marriage.
it is a marriage. It can destroy marriages too. So it's thank God my wife is understanding
And patient.
and patient with me, and the kids don't see me as much as most. When we lived on a house before, my neighbor used to come home at 5, and I was leaving at 5. So I would see my kids maybe for a few hours. Now I get to play hooky, go to soccer games, whatever, football games, rugby games. My daughter does flag, so I try to go, I go to those things. And so, but I have a good staff too. I couldn't do it without I think we have 30
There's
staff.
one coming right now. This is perfect timing.
Can you bring them some more bread?
Lovely
That way
man, take
they
this
can try the
out.
pepper paste.
You know what? I'm an okay. You're culinary trained, but you have really good drinks. How do you learn that part? You actually have good wine.
Yeah, we have a really good wine list, the culinary. I
You
don't
have a
know.
whole wine room.
I have a whole wine cellar. Yeah. So Carlos, I don't know if you know Carlos Moran. He owns a Moto restaurant by Fresno High.
Okay.
Well, I've known him for a long time, and he moved to. He was a bartender in Fresno. He worked at Vinny's. He worked all the old spots that we all used to go to, or I used to go to. You guys are much younger than me, I'm sure. And then so he moved to New York, and he was working in New York, opening restaurants and being not sommelier, but oh my God, I can't remember the name of it.
You gotta take the big.
Mixol-
No, you're doing it. You're doing it.
He was a mixologist. So I contacted him
They
and
gotta
said,
take the plate.
Wowzers, and then here
So you
comes the-
contacted him back when you guys went to school together?
no, he was much younger than me too. So we're friends, which is where a lot of my friends are younger than me, because being in this industry keeps you young.
Thank you. Ooh, that looks so good.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Sure. I love pepper. Okay, now we can. Yeah, we're
Now
gonna.
you get the cracked pepper from. So.
I know, no, thank you.
How did you come up with the name?
I'm sorry, right there. So I realized if I name it cracked pepper, every time you go to a restaurant, they're going to offer you cracked pepper, and they're going to say, "Oh, I haven't been to that restaurant for a while." So it was like advertising, in a sense, But it's funny, I've gone to a few restaurants.
That makes sense. Actually, that's clever.
Yeah, now that I've gone to a few restaurants, and then they joke around, they call it, "Would you care for a crushed pepper?" I'm like, come on, call it. It's cracked pepper.
Wow.
Say it
Let's
right.
get it out, yeah. So Carlos was living in New York at that point. I reached out. I hired him to come to Fresno to train my staff
Wow.
to do the mixology. And then because our food was so good, I didn't want to open a bar without having just as good a bar or drinks as our food. It had to pair, So he came in, he trained the staff. He went back to New York. I brought him back a few times, and then eventually he came and managed here for a while before we had Michelle. But we have 30
Did
staff
he go
members.
back to New York after that?
He was here. He owns a restaurant in Fresno High.
Brought it
30
back.
staff
Yeah.
members? That's a lot.
Yeah. He opened Moto, which is a delicatessen
Yeah.
by Fresno High. So he's a good friend, and he's really helped. To this day, if I call him, I need something, like ideas or whatever. But even my bartenders are really good about coming out with drinks. We have days where they just come in and they just kind of create, and we'll taste and play, and then figure out I like this, I don't like this, I like this flavor. Summer's coming. Let's put something with watermelon. Let's peaches. Right now we're doing pistachios because pistachio
Pistachio.
week. Yeah, so we have pistachio on that
You gotta
day.
try it, girl. Let me know. During COVID, how did you sustain? Because that was a very hard-hitting time for every restaurant.
It was very hard. We were recreating ourselves every week. Every time they came up with a new law or a new ruling or new this or
Were you
mask.
scared?
Oh, of course
It
I
was-
was.
yeah,
I
I
would
mean,
leave
it's-
home going, how am I going to tell my family we're going to lose everything that we've built for the last 12 years, 13
Especially
years?
because 2019 was a good year business-wise
Yeah.
for everybody. It was very
Yeah. And then to go from there to just craziness, nothing. I mean, we literally would have chairs flipped up on top of the tables. It was a very depressing time
Did you do takeout during that time?
We did, but we had to recreate the whole menu because this food does not work for takeout.
Oh, does it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mashed potatoes, we use butter, we use cream, we use mascarpone cheese, and by the time you got that home, it would be thick. So that was a tough time. So we've added we added a burger, we added sandwiches, we changed the menu constantly, try to fit the time. And we did. We made it through it, and we kept the majority of our staff that that we could, where a lot of restaurants let go a lot of people or couldn't afford to. We were
And you
able.
didn't have to really do that?
Well, we didn't want to do it. It's not that we couldn't. Me and my wife made a decision to keep the people that we had because they've been with us for so long. Looking back to
families
it,
to feed, right?
yeah, they're family. So
And they're like family to
and
you.
they're like family. I joke sometimes I spend more time here than
you
I
do
do
at
at home.
right?
You
I
know.
know that feeling.
So we couldn't really just say, you know what, I'm sorry, we gotta just let you go, or, like my managers took a pay cut.
Wow. That's
So
dedication.
that is. So that was really cool. The staff that was working here would trade and rotate, and okay, you work. Whoever needed money would come in and work, and to goes. And to be honest with you, people were very generous during that time. And tips wise, not donation, tips. So the staff was getting tipped pretty good.
That's good.
Not a lot, not compared to what
This
they would
is
make.
the roasted pepper?
Yeah, this is roasted red pepper paste. So let me know what you think.
Good.
Oh my god. I'm gonna try this real. Oh
Well,
my
you brought
god.
the bread back.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
made them
goodness.
bring fresh bread out.
Wow.
Right?
I was like, the bread
So I was
Now
surprised
I
when they
know
brought.
why I needed to have this.
Yeah, so I was surprised when they brought butter that they didn't bring that out.
Dip
so.
it. No, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. This is. How do you guys make this fresh?
Make this in house. So we used to change it once a week. When we first started, once a week we had a different paste at the table. And we got to
That is
this,
so
and we
good.
changed it the
Oh
week
my
after,
I just want to eat that.
and people are like, no, you need to bring that back.
Thank you for making us get this.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Everybody needs to get this out. This is wow.
Yeah, it's a must. During the holidays, we sell by the pint, by the half pound, a pound.
We come in and buy those? Like,
Oh yeah, well you have to call ahead. We have to make it because we make it fresh. We don't have. So if they call ahead, we'll
no,
make.
we have the cracked pepper and the roasted pepper. I love that.
Yeah, right. All pepper themed, man.
And we can only come here. Why don't you? We should put this in the stores. Oh my gosh.
It's too expensive. By the time
Oh.
we've done the math, and then by the time you add all the chemicals to make it shelf stable, it's not the same. We've talked to people. We want to do it, but
So they don't just naturally bring this to the table? And
they do. That's why I was surprised earlier when you got butter and not that. So
I've never
we have a conversation in the back after.
This is so good. They should, that's...
No, they do. Most of the time they do, unless you say you just want butter and they didn't think about it. So
So I'm not gonna diss my hometown. I love Fresno. I grew up here. I was
Right.
born and raised here. Unlike you, and
Yeah.
I went
I
to
was
LA,
not,
came back.
but
Yeah, I know. I was like,
Yeah.
unlike you, I was born and raised here, but then I went to LA, came back here. But you don't even have to be this good to be successful here. Like, why do you choose to do all this? Make all this in-house stuff, age the meats, have the wine room. Like, this is above and beyond. You could be successful doing half the amount of work.
No, I
why
know.
do you do this?
I've heard that a lot, but I'm passionate about what I do, right? If you're passionate about what you do, my dad is funny. He came from Lebanon, not a lot of education, but he repaired shoes. And I was asking him the same question, like, why do you buy the most expensive leather? Why do you buy the most expensive
Right.
glue, this, that? And he would say, my name is on that product. When it leaves this door, I'm responsible for that. So it took, and at that point, I was young. I wasn't really understanding what he was trying to say,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, and this guy hasn't really, I don't understand why, So, and then, after he passed, and I'm sitting there and reminiscing and thinking, and I'm going, man, all my success is based because of him taking pride in what he did and putting out his best possible quality, So.
Was he alive when you created it?
Oh yeah, we have.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And my
That's
mom was opposite. My mom, not opposite in that way. She was more. My dad didn't speak English, so he was the back of the house, and my mom was in the front dealing with customers. So a lot of
that's a
my
reversal in my family.
right. So a lot of that, me learning how to talk to people, came from my mother and how proactive she was, and she had to keep the family together in a sense because she was able to pick up English a lot faster than my dad was. So that's why we do it, and we train the staff. I remember the first day we opened, I sat at this salad station. I made the person making salad at that point threw 10 salads away because there were burnt pieces in the lettuce, or they were. But I had to do that for them to understand that we're not going to put out a product that's not
You're
superior.
that much of a perfectionist.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
No, this is amazing. And like, what do you hope? You've done it all. there's too many wars to figure
Right.
out, well, what's the next goal? Because this is amazing and we're happy. We're satisfied.
Right.
I feel like you're not. I feel like you keep going.
No, my kids are getting to that age now where they need to understand how life works, right? How you have to put your best foot forward. And my next, 10 years, whatever, 20 years, whatever we want to call it, I want them to be in here, and they'll come on the weekends and help, but I want them to see what it takes to put out a quality product. Not necessarily I want them to do this as a living, but whatever they do, they need to make sure that what they're doing is 100%. So, and that is going to make them successful. So my goal is for them to just kind of understand, if you are, wiping windows, make sure you're the best window wiper, or if you're going to be a doctor, find out how you can be the best doctor. I'm happy with whatever they do. I don't tell them, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. I just want them to be successful in their lives with what they choose to do.
What are some of the challenges you face with COVID? I know chicken prices went up.
Everything
A lot
went
of
up.
prices went up. So what happened when you raised your prices? Do people get mad? Tell us some of the struggles on that end.
Just bags, to-go bags went from $35 for $100 to $120. And during the time where we're doing to-go,
Wow.
right? So, and that's just the bag. So by the time you take the box that you're putting the food in, and then everything else, and we try to use the better products, recycled paper, this and that. We don't buy the foam, the cheaper stuff. And so just to-go package, you're buying a $20 burger, it was costing us almost $3-4 just for packaging.
Wow. What was the question? I cut you off a little bit.
I
What
don't
were-
remember what I was going to say.
But
I
everything-
I was going to ask the age of your kids.
Oh, my son is 16. He's at Memorial.
Oh, nice.
And my daughter is 11. I hope I got those right.
How'd you deal with that during COVID, having to homeschool them and trying to survive?
My wife took the bunt of that, right? She was at home more because I was trying to make things
I
work
wish
here.
she was here right now.
I know, I wish too, but she's busy with the kids, But on the selfish part, I enjoyed it because they were home. So I'd wake up, I'd get up, and they're both home. It was nice to have them home for me
Yeah.
because that's something for me rare. Because I would only see them in the morning when they went to school, or if I took them, or most of the time my wife would because I'm still sleeping from the late night, and then they'd come home after school around 3 o'clock. Then I would see them for a few hours. But I think it was harder for my wife than it was for me on that part.
So we can rent this out for private parties. What's the process and the protocol we go if I want to have a birthday party here?
Right, so you can do outside, inside. You can pick where you want to be, right? So outside we tent. There's umbrellas.
So I can have a party out there that's you can still have your business going.
Yeah,
there.
we can.
Oh,
So
I
we
love
can
that.
do that, or we have some
Right.
people they'll rent the inside for Christmas.
September.
Yeah, they'll rent it for Christmas. So and that we just based it on the time that you want, what our sales were the previous year for that.
Okay.
We don't really have a set
Oh,
amount.
that's really nice.
Yeah,
you're working with us.
Yeah, so we're working in the sense of
That's
okay,
really nice,
if
generous.
last year in July 10th we made this much, then this is how much I would expect to make that day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we work.
What about private catering? So we want to.
I don't do catering.
at all.
I've done
Okay.
catering. We did the Kaiser party for 7 years in a row. That was 500 people. We'd have to close the restaurant and
So
do
it's just
5
not
courses.
worth it any. We could rent this out though.
You can
We
rent
could
it out
leave
here. Yeah,
That's
we've done
good.
that. We've done that. There's a couple of businesses in town that'll rent out the whole thing, inside and outside, and they'll do a little reception outside, and then they'll come inside and have a sit-down dinner, and we do a custom menu for them. Whatever they want, pretty much, is available. So.
And what boggles my mind is that you guys actually cater to people in a way that sometimes you provide their tables, and when a specific table, you'll be like, okay, you can have it.
We try. I don't guarantee it.
I don't
but
guarantee it, but you really kind of make it happen.
We do.
Tell us
Well,
about that.
We're in the customer service industry. I think that part people have forgotten. A lot of restaurants you go to,
Yeah.
I'm not bashing my industry, but
No, I
sometimes they
understand.
forget
They
that
forget
we're
that
in the business
that
of customer
matters. It
service, right? I
matters,
mean,
yeah.
I remember at the old restaurant, we had a CVS or wherever it was, right? And if we didn't have a beer the customer wanted, I would send one of the staff to go buy the beer that
No.
customer wanted. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're in the business for. We have to take it.
You don't at
And the
all.
way your staff treats us here, we don't see that.
And it's hard.
And I
Well,
go
I
to
think
a
that
lot of
comes from the
restaurants.
owner, right? I mean, if I'm hospitable, I love people, and they understand that, and that's how they treat people.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times on the front of the house, the staff kind of self-manages in a sense of like, if they have a bad server or bad seat in a sense, they'll push them
The whole
out.
experience.
Yeah, they'll push them out. That person won't be here that long because they know if you get a bad service, you might not come back.
Right.
Right? But if you get a great service, the chances are you're going to come back and experience different servers. And we have really good people that work here and they care about what they do. And that shows. And that shows from the hostesses to the bar to, you know, I want people to come in here because the 2 hours you're here, it's an escape, right? You're leaving home, you got maybe drop off the kids, you're on a date night, and I want you to come here, have a good time.
Yeah.
It's not time for you to stress.
It's an experience.
It's an experience. Now, some people come with stress. And the other people, and then
Definitely.
you know, we try to make it positive and leave happy,
Yeah.
but it's not always, right?
But your staff is good because you take care of them as an owner.
I do. I'm not a micromanager. I'm not as long as the job's getting done,
Yeah.
I understand, and it's tough work. I could not serve tables. I don't have the patience, you know. So, but I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen because it's hectic, it's crazy, it's controlled chaos, you know.
Hard question. What's one of your favorite dishes there?
It's like asking me which kid I like more.
I don't know.
Well, I have a favorite.
You know, I would say all these dishes change constantly, but our bread pudding and our eggplant Napoleon
The bread
is a
pudding
consistent.
Is like a winner dish
So if
for
I
you
had to
guys.
pick two, I couldn't pick one. It'd have to be those two are my eggplant Napoleon and the bread pudding. We are consistent with
Okay. Favorite drink? Here.
that. Old fashioned.
Oh, got it.
Oh, wait,
You
so
got it.
with honey or without? With the maple syrup
The
or
maple
without?
syrup
Sorry.
or without?
I go back and forth. I go from a maple
Okay.
syrup, I go to agave. It depends how my sugar levels are doing.
Yeah. That's important.
Yeah, I do the agave once in a while. But I think I like our aged old fashioned and that we barrel age. We have a barrel aging program that we do here. I like those. They're more refined to me and they have a little sweeter taste because it kind of evaporates some of the alcohol, the harshness of the alcohol. So I think it's more rounded, more for my palate, the barrel aged.
Yeah.
And it picks up some of that flavors from the wood in the barrel. So
Who comes up with the wine selection?
I think that's all. Michelle, my manager, is doing that. Before
Sure,
that,
drink so fast. Yeah, like
It
this.
was Austin Hill.
Yeah, we
right?
do
you
not
can't-
like to drink
yeah.
some
You
food
can't
here.
not drink Austin Hill.
so we try to focus on California. A lot of it, like
I love that.
60% of our wine is Paso.
Yes.
And then we have Napa, and then we have some European, like some French, some Italian, some, Spain. So we venture out a little bit, but we just like to support local businesses in town. The same thing with the wine idea. We want to support local winemakers or winemakers that went to Fresno State,
This sauce.
the tahini sauce.
Is it tahini?
Yeah, so how did you guys come up with this one?
that
It's different than a
spicy?
regular.
Yeah, so I was craving a shawarma and driving around going, I want a shawarma. So I came to work. We make the flatbread in-house. We made the lamb because most shawarma is shaved lamb.
This is all flatbread, by the way.
Yeah, so and the flatbread we make. So it's just like a elevated shawarma sandwich on a plate. So I get all the flavors because the lamb has a shawarma seasoning, the tahini sauce,
I'm getting
the
the
bread.
very Armenian Mediterranean experience
Yeah,
with this dish.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, Middle Eastern a little bit. And then the roasted tomato, the jalapeno, the onion.
Yeah, that tomato looks amazing.
It's all complement to the dish. So
Oh my God, thank you so much, Archie,
You're
for
welcome.
inviting us in your. I feel like I'm at home.
I know.
That's what we want.
I know.
Good.
that's what we want. We
But
want you to feel like
I
you're at
might
home.
move in here. Don't tell me that.
You're family now.
Let's solidify the deal as the bread pudding. We got to do that.
Yeah, you gotta save room for bread
gotta
pudding.
save Oh, now you told me this. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, thank you so
And I'm gonna
much.
let you go outside and walk around a little bit. And then
Yeah, we can
make
walk
room for
around
it.
and
Hey, I'll do jumping jacks in the wine cellar. I
There
like
you
that.
go.
It was
There
big
you go.
enough. There's a lot of wine in there.
There is. Be
Don't
careful.
leave us alone.
Don't knock any of them down. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing.
There was no way we could leave without the bread pudding. And oh my God, it was so incredible. I highly recommend the Cracked Pepper Bistro for its terrific food, wonderful service, and elegant atmosphere. I'll be going back often. Cracked Pepper, we're coming back every week, and Good thing we go to the gym because
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh I must confess dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend. Playing pretend, playing pretend, ooh, playing pretend.
It's a mystery.